Welcome to the Milo Show, episode 1488. Just kidding. This is, I don't know what episode this is, episode 20-something. I'm sitting here with somebody possibly even sassier than me.
Yes.
You know you are.
I had all these insults ready, now I don't have to use them.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you see, I like to start in an over-generous way. You know, you start with a compliment. I've said this in the show before, but my favorite story about Jennifer Lopez, which I'm almost convinced is not true, but I hope that it's true. I'm going to hold out till it's true. If I ever meet her, I will ask her, and all of my dreams will be shattered. But the story is that she was really pissed at an interviewer one day, and she's like, "You haven't done this before, have you?" And he's like, and she's like, compliment, question.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that great?
That's beautiful.
Isn't that great? So I have this running joke now when I have my assistant in the room with interviews and they're going badly, I'll kind of like look at them. And they'll just lean over and tap the interview on the question and say, "Sorry, can I just stop you? Just something that might work a little better for you is compliment question."
I love it.
I got to the stage in my life where I can do that, and the person isn't sure if it's a joke or not. Like, they don't quite know if I'm trolling
Andy
them.
Kaufman.
It's great.
Yes.
It's great. It's great. Introduce yourself. It's Michael Malice.
I am Michael Malice.
How are you?
I'm phenomenal.
Wonderful. Now, I am somebody who's in the middle of writing one of the many books I've promised that I'll finish at some point.
Which one? What are you writing?
But I'm doing I think we're going to call it the Dangerous Faggot Manifesto.
Okay.
But Barnes & Noble might have trouble with that, so
Yeah,
we'll work on it. But it is almost finished. It's really a book that might actually get finished. You, on the other hand, have produced lots of books.
I have.
You have co-authored how many books?
I think 6.
6.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And your latest one, which is the subject of today's show, is called Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il.
Yeah.
There's a nice sticker on the front that says 100% true.
Well, the true is in quotes. Basically,
it is.
I went
Yes,
to North Korea and I adopted their propaganda into his life story.
That's
so it's all
wonderful.
based on what they present as fact, but it's, nonsensical. In many
I've just
ways.
been rewatching 30 Rock.
Oh, yes.
It has very good episodes about North Korea.
And they made a mistake because what's her name? That Margaret Cho plays Kim Jong-il,
Yes.
and she says that we don't know what he sounds like, and he's actually given one speech, which is glory to the Korean People's Revolutionary Army. He's only said one sentence ever in public.
Yes.
So we do know what he sounds like.
I see. Okay, well, there we go.
Yes,
As
sorry,
somebody
Margaret.
with intricate, deep, excellent knowledge of this, so tell us about the book. Is it any good?
It's the best book ever written.
No, but you know what I
it's
mean.
literally
because
a million times better than the Bible and the Quran put together.
Yeah, it's your second favorite book of all time. Yeah.
yes. After Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal. Do you know what I have to say? No, it's a reasonable question because I finished a column. I know if it's a good column or an average column. Right. But you finished this book, and this is where in the Michael Malice canon does this sit? Is this your
is
favorite
probably my
thing?
proudest achievement because there's so much misinformation about North Korea, and I'm like, can I make North Korea funny and comprehensible? Because it's so intense, people tune out.
Yes.
Or it's so crazy, people don't get it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to give them the medicine, and I'm also going to give them the poison. So when you read this book, you understand the totalitarian mindset, and a lot of the parallels are where we have here and how people think. So they're not crazy, they're not nuts, and someone said this is the most depressing and funniest book I've ever read, which
That's
really,
a really nice compliment.
Yeah,
That's a really
that
good
was
compliment.
exactly
That's going to be
what-
on the cover of the paperback, right?
Yeah, well, yes, sir.
Well, that's lovely.
And wait, just something else that you are going to really appreciate about this. I did this for Kickstarter.
Oh, you
so
did?
This just shows how we've reached a point, and I got an hour in C-SPAN. Carson Daly did a segment on me. This shows that we've passed that hump where if you're doing a book that you're producing yourself, there's not a stigma to it. Yes. We are bypassing these, gatekeepers, and producing something of quality that reaches an audience. So this is a very recent development
How much did
in
you
publishing.
raise to do this?
$30,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, having met you before, I would definitely have contributed to a book by you on North Korea. So I can understand why people were keen on it. You just arrived this morning.
Yes, sir.
We're at my hotel. We're at actually, I don't know if I can tell you, but we're at a hotel in Midtown in New York. I might still be here when the show comes out. I just opened it, and it does, I have to tell you, read slightly like The Art of the Deal. Just a little bit. And I kind of wanted to talk to you about the virtues of fascism, because I know that this book is kind of like more of a satire on it. But
no, it's not a satire at all. I played very straight. So that was my point, to try to play it as if he was writing this autobiography, because anything that's insane there, they're actually putting forward. I'm not playing up their lunacy at all.
Well, you know what? Let's start at the beginning. What's the thing in the book that sticks out the most? People are going to remember the funniest thing. Like, what's the anecdote?
Okay, here we
or
go.
the
Got it. Easy.
That you think
easy
best represents the book and what you're trying to achieve?
There's two things. I'll give you, the first one is first. A lot of the claims that they make over Kim Jong-il, we read them, we think, oh my God, this is nuts. One of them that they claimed, which is true, is that he can shrink time. And you're reading this, interesting. Like, what does it mean he could shrink time? Well, he's at a meeting and there's a conference speaker and he's working on laws, and at the same time his aides are constantly interrupting him. And the conference speaker keeps stopping, and Kim Jong-il says, "Why are you stopping?" He goes, "Well, you're working on all these papers." He goes, no, I can do all these things at once. And from that point on, people realized that Kim Jong-il looked at time not as a plane, but as a cube, and that he could shrink time. And I told this to my friend, she goes, "Does he mean multitasking?" And yes, that's literally what he means. And apparently he's the only person in North Korea capable of doing this.
I see.
So when they say he can shrink, and the other thing that was amazing in the book, there's a chapter when Madeleine Albright comes to visit, and they say that her mood is expressed through whatever pin she wears. And when she met Kim Jong-il, she had a pin of a heart to show her love for him. And I thought, okay, this is, nuts. And anything in the book I authenticated with Western sources. I found a photo of her wearing the pin walking down the hall with him. So this anecdote was actually true. And she wrote a book about how she wears pins to express her views.
And she wore a heart.
And she raised a glass to this dictator while there's concentration camps miles away.
So this is her, I salute your courage and infatigability moment, right?
I don't even know what her motive was, but it's just, for this woman to say
this a signal that he should have more compassion, or she was just saying props, bro?
I think this was deference to someone who she thought was powerful. And for her to wag her finger and say there's a special place in hell for women who don't support Hillary Clinton, it's like, there's a real special place in hell.
People wear pin badges with hearts on when they have told people that they wear pin badges that reflect their mood to meet the North Korean dictator.
And who toast someone who starves children for political purposes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Horrible woman.
Yeah, she is a horrible woman.
Horrible woman. And you could tell she's horrible just by looking at her. Because she looks like an owl.
Oh, you're so see, this is what I said, you see. Nasty, mean-spirited, sassy Michael Malice. I'm going to have you on again, because I'm the nice guy when I have you on. I'm the nice person.
It's like Patsy and Adina, right?
For American listeners who may not know what that is, you, of course, know what that is.
Of course
I grew up on this, you see. There's a show called Absolutely Fabulous in the UK about a sort of overweight, middle-aged PR executive who indulges in all of her worst desires and lusts and weaknesses, and her spindly alcoholic friend Patsy.
Yeah.
Would you be Patsy?
I'd be Patsy.
You'd be Patsy.
I would definitely be Patsy.
Yeah, you'd be Patsy. She lives above an odd bins, which is what's our equivalent of, I don't know.
Is that like Walmart?
No, it's where you buy wine, like a wine wholesaler.
We don't have those. There's no national brands because each state has their own liquor laws.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So we have like these chains of off-license. What do you got? A liquor store? Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, good. Why are you so interested in North Korea? Well,
I'm Jewish and I was born in the Soviet Union. So this was when I reached a certain point with my career, I'm like, okay, I have spending money. I can travel more. And this was the first place I wanted to go. For party cred, because you can go to people and be like, oh, you've never been? It's the new Milan. But also...
and nobody will ever know otherwise.
Correct. But it's also my only chance to see what my family went through back in the day. And I wanted to see what they're really like. And it's much worse than people realize. And it's just the fascinating experience of, seeing the worst country on earth. And when you see it and then you come back here and you realize how the journalists get it completely wrong, it's mind-numbingly awful.
What are the things they get most wrong?
They think it's a big carnival. They think, like, there was this Daily Mail or Guardian piece that referred to Kim Jong-un's mini-skirted robot army and how the citizens all march in lockstep and ha-ha-ha. It's like these people have a gun to their heads at all times.
Right.
And the punishment there is familial instead of individual. So if someone does something wrong, the whole family's punished 3 generations. And you're not told who did something wrong to get you punished.
You're just punished.
The whole family's punished.
So does this explain that, these sort of national outpourings of grief, when they're all crying in huge crowds and things, when their leaders die and things. So this is less like a sort of Western virtue signaling and more like just sort of enforced public
Well, a lot of it's sincere. Because if you have one president, when a president dies, people cry, when JFK died.
Right, but there's something a little different about the spectacle.
But it's also like if you wear his pin on your lapel whenever you leave the house and you have his picture on your wall and he dies, what happens now? If this guy's in charge of every aspect of your life, and they're constantly taught from birth.
It's like a bit of you has been lost.
Yeah, but it's also like
even if it's a
tomorrow,
bit of you that controls you.
Because their whole thing is he's the only one protecting us from the U.S. invading and killing us all again. So it's like, oh crap.
So
a lot of it's sincere.
America's coming.
Yeah.
America's coming.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's a very, very dark place. But I made it funny.
Right. I mean, there's some obviously funny things about it.
Yeah.
And you see on the news reports, it looks comical.
Well, it's a very Jewish gallows humor. And a lot of what they present as fact is so farcical. Like, when his college thesis was called, like, on the role of the county promoting socialism, and they compare it to the Copernican revolution in terms of its importance. So it's just, I try to make it palatable so people can understand it. And people can understand the totalitarian mindset, which is so prevalent everywhere around the world.
People are calling the Republican nominee for president a fascist.
Yes.
They're saying that he allies with fascists, he's sucking up to Putin and all the rest of it.
Right.
I mean, how ludicrous is that allegation in your mind, having been to North Korea and seen that? Or do you think there's some truth in it?
There's a lot of truth in it, because there's this great book called Mussolini and Fascism, The View from America. Mussolini gets a bad rap because of his best friend. But he was in...
Yeah, it just is the power of guilt by association.
Yes, which you're familiar with. He was enormously influential in American politics in the 20s, before all that World War II stuff happened. Because the idea was the Great Depression hit, capitalism's discredited, we don't want to be like the Soviets. This is our third path between the two. So Wilson and FDR very much took their goals from fascism, and he still, I mean, the Obama healthcare bill in an economic sense is pure fascism. The idea that these corporations are going to be doling out healthcare and they're more efficient than the government, but you still have to be a consumer of one of these corporations. That's the fascist model.
Right. That's interesting. Let's have a brief diversion into contemporary American politics.
Yes.
Who are you supporting for president?
I wrote an article for The Guardian on how I don't vote, but I think it's win-win-win between Trump, Hillary, and Gary Johnson, who has no chance.
And this is because you want to see the world burn.
I do want to see. Yes, some men just want to see the world. What's that H.L. Mencken quote? Every man at one point has to hoist the black flag and start cutting throats.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's why we get on, because we're both engines of chaos. So we both basically want to see the world burn.
Yes.
Which bit of the world do you want to see burn first? Do you want Trump to get in, see the Republican Party destroyed? Well, good. I'm glad to.
That's the first one. They're the real villains.
Well, I agree completely, which is why I do my tour. Because that's the breeding ground for all of the worst craziness in the West.
Yes.
All of the stuff, that's the place where people want to tear down all of the things that make the West wonderful.
And these are people who can't compete as authors in the marketplace of ideas.
Correct.
These are those who can do, those who can't teach. They're the real vermin.
Right. And their idea, it used to be the case that you could dismiss what happened on university campuses as the crazy indiscretions of youth. But those sort of sophomoric and insane politics aren't changing as people graduate now. Right. They're not getting better because they're not having resistance from the college professors, and they're encouraged to perpetuate those, conspiracy theories about men, the Black Lives Matter, kind of all of that kind of stuff well into their 30s when they get careers in government, the media, charities, all of the various organs that run our societies. Right. These people have the same politics they did when they were 18, and that's relatively new, isn't it?
I don't know if it's relatively new, but I think what people are starting to realize is, the way I always put it, is progressivism is Christianity without the mythology.
Right.
So these are basically going to their monasteries. They're being taught this worldview that is not have any basis in reality, or it has some basis, but they twist it, Sort
of 25% real.
Yeah.
And the rest is just conspiracy theorizing, isn't it?
It's just also like, look, fossils don't disprove creationism, right? Because if you're a creationist, you see fossils, you're not going to care.
Yes.
So they're not at that point. Listen, I went to college. Person X didn't go to college. Clearly, I know better than them.
Yes.
So right away, they're inoculized.
Which we're starting to discover is not true.
Right, but in their minds,
dumber than when they went in.
In their minds, they're inoculated against any data from people who aren't their peers. And since everyone who graduated college is going to be permeated with evangelical progressivism, it becomes the perfect bubble where they don't have to introduce new facts.
And it's interesting because they're the people, they stylize their propaganda as sort of dataism. It's the left, it's the progressive left that has given birth to fact checking, to data journalism, to all this stuff, sort of propaganda dressed up as fact.
Right.
And they're the people who will constantly complain that we live in a post-factual era.
Right.
Yet they're the ones who are, have possibly the most bizarre and fact-free worldview of all, because they're so impervious to data and to arguments that contradict their point of view. And for me as a cultural critic, I'm looking out at these people and I'm examining them stylistically. And the only conclusion that I can draw is, there's such an echo chamber going on. It's not a conspiracy. It's simply that they all agree.
It's not a conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy
at all.
They don't even need to conspire because they all reflexively believe the same things, and they're not used to being contradicted. Many of these people who work in our charities, on the board of governors of universities, who work in politics, have simply never been told they're wrong.
Right.
And they come into contact with the public. These populist uprisings, whether it's Brexit or the what was supposed to be the hung parliament in the UK, and now the Trump and the Sanders, frankly, movements, they've just never been told they're wrong before. And people are starting to think, actually, the way that you have been running these countries has not worked out that great for us.
And this, I disagree with one thing. This has been happening since the 1890s. There's this great book called Illiberal Reformers, and he talks about how all these people went to Germany because that was the place to be, to learn all this stuff back in the day. And they came back and they seized the universities, and they introduced what they call scientific socialism. This idea that the engineers are going to engineer society so it's efficient. And I remember even in high school I was taught this idea that communism and capitalism both have plus and minuses, and one of the pluses of communism is that's not wasteful. It's like, yes, if you don't have enough food, you can't waste any. I'm perfectly happy that
it's not wasteful because because everyone's hungry.
Right. I think it's great that I have food that I can throw out.
I
and
love
go to
waste.
Yes,
oh my
of
goodness.
course.
No, one of the best things about conspicuous consumption is throwing away the last 25%. You know,
Right.
because it's a wonderful. It's a sign of progress, a sign of wealth, a sign of security, a sign of the society is going right.
And
when 50% of its members don't have to worry about eating the last thing on their plate.
And even the left has come to acknowledge, thankfully, that there's so much food that the only reason people starve on Earth anymore is because governments are in the way from getting their populations that food.
Right.
Like North Korea, they consciously chose to let people starve rather than let the UN in, because then the government would be superfluous. But this has been going on in terms of the progressive control of colleges for decades. Woodrow Wilson was certainly in this model, FDR, and the idea that we're smart, we're educated, therefore we're intelligent, and we're going to tell everyone else what to do. And on the one hand, I kind of share that. I'm a bit of a snob, and I don't think the masses are going to have the answers, but you have to make sure you have the right elites.
Right. Do you sense any, I don't know the answer to this, but do you sense any sort of secret, tacit sympathy or support from these university education elites for regimes like North Korea in the way that they obviously do pander to radical Islam? Because they
absolutely.
share many of the same, I mean, I think sort of the radical progressive element, the sort of regressive social justice warriors have a very similar analysis of what's wrong with the West that Islam does, for instance. Right. Do you sense any sort of sympathy or any excuse making?
I can give you the exact quote. There's a book by Bruce Cummings, a college professor, about North Korea, and at one point he talks about how they have gulags and concentration camps and people are raped and starved.
Yes.
And he goes, well, we have the highest per capita population of people in prison in America, so what's the difference? What's the difference? And it's like, ask any of those North Korean concentration camp people if they would like to live in one of our prisons or vice versa. And they'd be like, well, it's a flip of the coin.
But this is the Sally Cohn problem, isn't it? When, you know, when she says things like, this is the stupidest woman in America on CNN, you know, and she'll come out and say things like,
Debbie's worse. Wasserman's worse than
Debbie
her.
Wasserman Schultz. No, I don't know. No.
Okay.
No, I can't. No, I can't agree. Sally Cohn it's Sally Cohn's Twitter account, which has persuaded me that she's the dumbest woman in America. This the stuff she comes like, oh well, you know, my Christian friends are just as bigoted as, you know, these supposed jihadis and all this kind of stuff. And just like, it's this weird kind of is it moral relativism? What would you even call it?
It's an inability to think hierarchically.
Yeah, that is what it is, isn't it?
So it's like,
it is the post-structuralist, postmodernist failing, you know, because this has been the dominant method of textual analysis in universities for so long. Right. Exactly right. You know, this is a failure to. Thank you for that.
Right.
So you've correctly expressed what I've.
Right. You have leukemia.
Sensing.
I have a cold. We're both sick. That is technically true, but irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to die. You'll probably be all right.
Yes.
You know,
with no treatment whatsoever.
No.
Right? I'll be fine, but that leukemia, you know, you're probably fucked anyway.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, how dangerous is it for people from the West to go to places like North Korea?
It's actually.
So you visited.
I did go to
What's
visit
the
there.
process? Like, how do you get there? Do you have to apply for a visa? What do they do?
It's very interesting. So if the U.S. hates a country and they're strong, they're our rival. So Russia and China are rivals. But if they're weak, then they're our enemies, which is Cuba and North Korea.
Okay.
It's legal to go to North Korea.
Yes.
Anyone can go.
Yes.
I highly encourage you to go just to see what it's like. And it is safer there than here, because in North Korea, human life has no value, and you're going there under the auspices of the government. So if I killed someone, I would just be exiled. I would have no consequences.
So you're like a guest of the government if you go there at all.
It's much safer, and everyone knows to treat you with respect.
And they met you, and they were still happy for you to be there.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. So of course, you're giving them money. So North Korea produces nothing of value, but they need hard currency. So they want our dollars desperately. So you are much safer there than here. You're not getting mugged. You're not getting.
Well, talk us through like what was it like when, you know, I mean, when you step off the plane, what is the airport like, and what are the people like? What's your sort of journey from getting off the plane to getting into your hotel? Like, how does it work?
I wrote a piece about this for a reason, but let me give you some highlights. When you land there, and I'm sure there's probably been places where you feel this way, your entire brain is screaming, you don't belong here.
Right.
It's impossible to describe this feeling. Everywhere you go, there's a scent, because they don't have a good air circulation, and every wall has a crack, every carpet has a stain.
Yep.
You can't acknowledge anything is wrong, because then you're criticizing the government. So if there's a rusty faucet, no one's going to fix it, right? So there's this pervasive air of decay. But as we're going from the airport to the hotel, and everyone has to have their minder with them on their tours, North Korea has the largest hotel on earth. I think it was the largest building in the Eastern Hemisphere for some point, and it was unfunctional. It was like 100 stories, the Rungyang Hotel. Yeah. And our guide pointed to it. She goes, "There's our latest rocket launch." And I'm like, oh, so she was being glib, and they're very funny.
Okay.
And if you want to be a big hit, and I wrote this in my Reason piece in North Korea, take any joke you know and just replace Japanese as the punchline, and they will think you're the best person ever. So I said, what do you call
sort of like Brits with the Irish?
Yes. Yeah. What do you call 10,000 Japanese at the bottom of the ocean? A good start. How do you keep a Japanese man from drowning? Take your foot off his neck.
Okay.
They were crying.
Really?
And I said, tell me some North Korean jokes. And she goes, okay. Son goes to his mother, goes, Mom, I don't want to go to school today, and I'll give you 2 reasons. Number 1, all the teachers hate me. Number 1, all the students hate me. And then mom goes, son, you have to go to the school today. I'll give you 2 reasons. Number 1, you're the principal. Number 2, you're 40 years old. So
I see. So they are in need of good new comic material.
But at least she had something. You think it's all grim and whatever. These people are human beings who are desperately trying to live a good life in terms of the worst circumstances on earth. And I asked her, I go, if I can send you anything from the West, what do you want me to mail to you? And she goes, a Porsche. She said it immediately. And I was like,
and you don't expect them even to know
what a Porsche is. And they have this.
Maybe that's very patronizing of us. I don't know.
They have this Pegasus Cholima, their symbol of speed. I go, I'm not sending you a Porsche, and don't ask me to send you Cholima either. And she goes, we have the original one here. What do I need you to send to me for? Immediately. So she asked for perfume, and since under their Juche idea, nothing that they don't produce in the country they don't need. So there's no perfume in the whole country. And I said, what kind of perfume? And now she's struggling to find words. And how do you describe perfume if you've never bought it?
Right.
So the word she was looking for was feminine. I got her the perfume. I smuggled it in for her, and it's just heartbreaking. And she has the same haircut my mom had in 1981.
They all do.
Yeah, but she's
this approved haircut thing. I mean, it's a myth. It is.
It's a myth.
Because this is the main reason I didn't want to go, because I have some quite specific ideas about how I should look, and I didn't want to have to
No, you're fine. And it's a myth. There's like 30 haircuts, but Asian hair is very straight. It's very hard to do anything with it when you have no product.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they don't have hairspray or gel.
There's no products. No,
right.
I think I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I mean, the best place to shop there is the equivalent of a Chinese 99-cent store.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they have these tacky placemats, and at first you're like, how tacky? And you're like, oh, this is their this is the best, most beautiful thing they can buy. So it's really heartbreaking when you realize these people are trying their best, and they're very normal, which I was shocked by.
I get a sense that the reason that America is the best country in the world, the greatest country probably in the history of human civilization,
easily,
with the possible exception of 650 BC Sparta.
What about Thatcher's Britain?
Well, no, it was good, but they had all these terrible northern people, when we closing the mines, causing all this terrible fuss. I mean, Thatcher's Britain, close, but only really in the south. The south of England's always been fine. The north of England, no. I mean, it's possibly the reason that it is the greatest country in the history of human civilization is that its values concord with something innate in human spirit. Freedom, free expression, the desire to own and control your own stuff. To be able to, the need for a little bit of struggle and strife. So you have a sense of achievement and accomplishment, having goals, having something to aspire to, and having the freedom to express yourself how you please. Do you get the sense in North Korea that there is something butting up against human nature going on there? That perhaps
every aspect of North Korean culture is anti-human nature.
Right.
Every aspect of it. And when you look around, you have to realize that everything there has been consciously chosen, and you have to do the reconstruction of what led them to make this decision.
I see.
So it's
there's something in the homosexual in me quite likes this.
This is what the homosexual you would really like. If you go in Pyongyang, they regard themselves very worldly. And I asked my God, teach me some slang, and she told me "ipoyo," which means cute. And I told my friend here in the West, she goes, that's from Seoul. So they're trying to use international verbiage, but not only that, every woman in Pyongyang, capital city, and you have to be very respected to live in Pyongyang or you step foot in it, has 6-inch platform heels at all times. Even when they're wearing the traditional garments, they have their platforms. And I took photos of them on the street. So they're trying to be fashionable, but this is
within the confines.
Within the confines.
Within the confines, because there's something in them, like there's something in us, like there's something in everyone who just wants to.
I asked her. I go once a year they have to go to the countryside, and everyone in the country helps pick rice. And I'm like, oh, that's great. She's like, yeah, it's really great. I'm like, let me ask you this: back home in the cities, people in the cities tend to look down those rural areas. Is it like that here? And workers' paradise. She's like, of course. I mean, she was like, "What are you an idiot?
You kidding me?"
Yeah. Really? So they are very.
So these natural human instincts, even after generations of this North Korean regime, they have not been extinguished.
How can you extinguish an instinct?
Right. Well, right. I mean, that was Interesting. After the break, I'm going to dig deeper into the book, and then we will talk a little bit more about the chaotic and this is a great election for both of us because both of us just want to see everything in flames,
and it's only going to get better.
Chaos. It's going to get so much better. Yes. We'll be back after these messages. It's the furries again. What can I say? We can't keep them away. I have heard back from our recent sponsor, Dreamkeepers, and they are thrilled with the traffic they've received from Milo listeners. So thank you, boys and girls, of course, and everything in between. So thrilled they are, in fact. They have offered to draw me as a furry. Don't bother contacting me with suggestions on which animal best represents my stunning physical beauty, witty intelligence, and of course my modesty, because I have already decided. Help me keep Dreamkeepers as a sponsor if you would like to find out and perhaps even see my fursona. Dream Keepers is a comic book. Many of you are thinking comics are a lost cause. Well, is news media a lost cause? Look at me in Breitbart. Absolutely not. The fresh, vivid, compelling elements of the comic industry are now in webcomics, like Dream Keepers. Dream Keepers is colorful, fun, entertaining, and yes, it's furry. If you are afraid of a furry comic with excellent art and story, you are straying dangerously close to cuck territory in my book. Check out dreamkeeperscomic.com to read it for free and help build a newer, better culture, one bastion of entertainment at a time.
You know, if like the rest of the whole world, you're all caught up in the what the did Donald tweet today game, good news. Podcast One's got a few shows that you need to download pronto. There's Breitbart's Milo Yiannopoulos,
a weekly discussion of all things technology, media, video games, politics, internet culture, and, of course, the dreaded social justice warriors.
Former Clinton White House advisor Dick Morris.
Hillary. I worked as her chief advisor for 20 years. I know her, and she should not be president.
Weekly Standard editor Bill Kristol.
We're fighting a war against radical Islam, but the President of the United States won't call it a war, and he won't mention radical Islam.
And all the editors of the Standard get together to do a weekly confab.
Welcome to the Confab. I'm Eric Felton.
Download Milo, Dick, Bill, and the Confab today on the Podcast One app or subscribe at podcastone.com.
Our friends at TrueCar have been selling so many cars thanks to the Milo show that I think they may be close to opening TrueJet, finally allowing me to purchase a sponsor's product. But until then, my beloved audience can continue to utilize TrueCar. You may not know that using TrueCar can also help you buy a used car. In fact, there are over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from TrueCar certified dealers nationwide. Whether you're looking to buy new or used, you can get upfront pricing information that empowers consumers, discounts off a list price for used cars, and a better buying experience through our TrueCar certified dealer network. You'll see what other people paid for the car you want, so you'll know what a fair price is and feel confident about your buying decision. With TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. And using the TrueCar website or the TrueCar app, you can easily find the new or used car you want. When you're ready to buy a new or a used car, visit TrueCar.com or download the TrueCar app to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states. It's the podcast with political analysis as rigorous as my daily hair care routine. Welcome back to the Milo Yiannopoulos Show on Podcast One. We're back. I'm here with Michael Malice, author of innumerable books and the new one, Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il, 100% quote true, end quote,
yes,
as dictated to Michael Malice. So let's get back to the book. Yes. You crowdfunded it, which is amazing, and
very flattering.
No, isn't it nice? Isn't it nice?
It really meant a lot.
Isn't it nice? And because I think you, I think, fall, although you have one foot in the establishment as a Fox contributor, and
I'm not a contributor. I run my mouth on it.
You just run your mouth.
Salary,
okay. But you're a columnist for the Observer, right?
Correct.
The New York Observer. So you have one foot in the establishment world,
yes, sir.
Even though you are an impish, mischievous little.
You called me what do you call me? A Machiavellian imp.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I liked that.
I like that too.
No,
the Observer called me a Nietzschean weasel.
I like mine better.
I like yours too.
No, but I mean, it's, you have one foot in there, but you have another foot in the more countercultural world. Just think, I think by virtue of your personality.
Yes,
and it is great that you can get this out with the support of people who know you and enjoy you and love you. So tell me a little bit more about the writing process. So did you write it very quickly? Or did you write it
this is mine.
Sort of agonizing, because
this is hell on earth.
I'm flipping through it, and it reads, as I say, a little bit like The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
But it reads like it's more heavily researched than might initially appear.
I read 60 books. So when I went to North Korea, I got all the propaganda, and I read all the Western books as well. So everything you would ever need to know about North Korea is in this book.
Okay. So did you have it translated or in English?
No, so their conceit is that everyone in the world's obsessed with their literature. So all their books are translated into English, French, German, Japanese, Chinese, something else.
And it's not really for any English, Japanese, or French readers. It's so the people at home think, it's kind of like when authors say, my books have been translated into 60 languages.
Right.
That's what they're doing. And they're just saying, oh yeah, everybody wants our stuff.
Yes, yes.
Oh, really?
And you go to the Tower of the Juche Idea, and there's all these plaques about Juche Study Club in other countries. Now, people from North Korea can't go to other countries. So
they have no way of knowing.
And I really
You're possibly the only person who's ever benefited from the English translations of these books.
Yes. Yeah. And when you go look at the plaque, I really doubt that there's a Juche club in the island of Mauritius, which is an island on the east off of Madagascar. Yeah. Listeners there. Home of the dodo. I doubt that they care about Juche. You never know.
There could be.
Yes.
That would be nice. That would be nice. How do you suppose this book will go down in North Korea? Do you expect it to...
anyone who would be reading this book in North Korea would be killed immediately.
They'd be killed?
Immediately with their family, yes. 100%.
They and their family would be murdered?
Immediately, yes. So the big rule about North Korea is you cannot criticize the government in any way, especially the leaders.
Right.
So anything like this, if you have foreign literature, you're done. But foreign literature in any way denigrating the leaders, that's the end of you and your family. The great leader Kim Il-sung, founder of North Korea, said class enemies have to be exterminated to 3 generations. So this is what will get you sent to the camps without even a question.
Okay, you're like Salman Rushdie for the North Koreans.
No, that's wrong. So they only go after their own. So it's okay for Westerners because we're filth.
Because we're filth.
But one of their own.
It's expected from
us.
It's expected from us.
To have lies about them, yes.
I see. Do you ever anticipate people reading it in North Korea? Do they have like a black market? Do things
they do, but this would be way too dangerous.
Because it's like prisons, right? You can pretty much get anything in prison if you put out enough. Which is why I'm not too worried about it. But I'm gonna have the best stocked commissary in that jail. But
what brand of cigarettes do you want? I have them all.
I only want one brand.
Yeah,
I only smoke Newports, obviously. So this is never going to make it into the country.
There's no possibility that anyone would take the risk of making it into the country.
Okay, and as a Westerner, can you take stuff like this in? And who tells you not to? If no, can I just go book a flight to North Korea?
You'd have to go through a tour company which vouches for you. It's not like they're going to Google you.
So I can't just go on to like Google Flights and book a flight.
There's
to
only
Pyongyang.
one flight in and out of Beijing every day. That's it.
Out of Beijing.
Yeah.
And that's it. So you can't get in.
You can't get in.
Except through China, except with like a prearranged...
Yes, exactly. And I was scared until the day
they didn't look you up and be like, no.
I worked around that. And I can't get into how, but until I landed there, I thought I don't think you would get in.
No.
Until I landed there, I was scared they were going to figure out what was going on. Yeah.
They were going to realize what was about to happen to them.
Right.
Okay, so this book is written straight.
But it is Sorry about it, Milo. Why are you throwing it in the trash? Bring it back.
Only straight thing you've ever done. No, it's written straight, but obviously is, heavily... Yeah. So we have somebody in the corner of the room asleep. in case you're worrying about the rustling, it's Kim Jong-il's agent in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
As every hotel I'm in, there are sort of the random sleeping Mexicans, just pick them up from somewhere. So have you, this book is written very straight, but of course it's not really. Have you, in your travels there, have you picked up any sort of loss of, nuance of understanding of satire or of comedy or of humor in people because of so many years of sort of earnest seriousness from the propaganda?
I'll tell you a great example of this.
Because it sounded from what you were saying earlier, like they still have a very finely tuned sense of irony and sarcasm.
Humor, but let me give you a good example. One of the people on our tour group was from Belgium, and he had one of those accordion cameras. You know what I mean? That style. But he took a photo of the group, and he goes, all right, now everyone stand still for half an hour. And it was digital, but it just looked like that.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
So I'm like, oh, you're such a hipster. And my guide asked me, what's a hipster? And now you have to try to explain to a North Korean what a hipster is.
Yes.
And I remembered my friend Nichelle's definition.
I can't even explain to my grandmother what a hipster is.
This is what my friend Nichelle said, and it worked. I said, they're people who like anything old-fashioned on principle.
Yes. Yeah, that's good.
And a couple of days later, there's a sweatshop within the hotel where the tailors live, and I wanted a suit made, custom suit.
Yes.
And she's showing me these Western style suits. I go, no, I want with the collar, just like General Kim Il-sung had. And my guy goes, oh, hipster. And I'm like, wow.
Oh, funny.
I was very impressed. But they don't have irony because, the whole country is such an ironic caricature.
Right.
So
it's
that
sort of redundant.
Yes. So and they have to repress that because if you're skeptical of anything, you're going to get in trouble with the regime, and that's going to be very bad for you and your family. Oh, here's a good example. I met a refugee, and there's this famous story in North Korea they teach them in school, which is Kim Jong-il's in school, and the teacher says to him, 1 + 1 is 2. And he goes, no, that's not always true. And she's like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, if I have 1 drop of water and I add another drop of water, I have 1 giant drop of water, therefore communism. And this girl I met, she thought to herself, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but she knew to keep her mouth shut because if you're going to be skeptical, it's going to be very bad for you.
Really?
So they are more critical than people realize, but they also know, just like in the West, you know when to keep your mouth shut.
This is the thing, people are people. People are people. People are people.
And
so we know to keep our mouth shut when somebody starts talking about the wage gap or campus rape culture. They know to keep their mouth shut at all times.
And I hate being a Western caricature that I went to North Korea and now I've changed my life forever. And here's my profile picture, feeding his poor child. However, it's as far removed from human civilization as it should be, as it's possible on Earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Astonishing.
It's
I thought that was like the Brandeis campus or something, but no. One final thing about the book, and then we're going to move on to two other subjects. The back of your book,
yes.
it says, in Dear Reader, Kim Jong-il explains, and one of the bullet points is why he despises the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Why does he despise the Mona Lisa?
I asked my mom this, who grew up under Khrushchev and Stalin. I said, can you guess the answer? She thought for 3 seconds. She goes, because her smile's ambiguous. And that's exactly right. Art has to be propaganda and clear to the
because
masses.
They don't have an understanding of creativity removed from politics.
Right. It has to be propagandistic, or else it's not art. It's not a masterpiece.
Incredible.
Explicitly.
Only a masterpiece if it is a work extolling the virtues of the leader
masses,
and in
masses,
service of the administration.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I asked you that question. I was sort of flicking through the book as you were giving your last answer. I'm so glad I asked you that. Right. Let's talk a little bit about politics,
yes, sir.
Briefly, and then I want to talk to you, but I want to go back to the university subject, because
okay.
you are a graduate of a university that's close to my heart.
Oh, God.
Close to my heart. All right. So I didn't quite wait for my own answer to the last question. So, Engine of Chaos, we both want to see the system burn.
Yes.
We both think they're all bastards.
Yes.
Which of the candidates in this election is going to get us to the glorious anarchic future that we both want?
I think, to be honest, I don't know.
Okay.
I think the case to be made for Hillary is pretty easy to make, because she's a walking calamity. When Bill Clinton got elected, she said to him, quote, I want to run something. And this woman who had no background in healthcare got in charge of the healthcare bill. She had her meetings in secret, which shows that she's not capable of learning from her mistakes 25 years later.
Yes.
She bungled it so badly that healthcare was dead as an issue for a generation.
Yes.
And we got a Republican Congress for the first time in 40 years simply due to her incompetence. So just like Nixon brought forth many left-wing ideas, including wage and price controls, affirmative action, the EPA, she will bring forth, in my view, many far right-wing views just because she just wants to get a deal made. And they're going to be able to fight her on day one, unlike every other president who gets a honeymoon period.
Yeah, because she's going to enter office as the most unpopular president probably in the history of the presidency on day one.
And
right?
they don't have to say why they're fighting her, because everyone knows they're going to fight her. It's not like Obama would be like,
everyone knows she's a pathological liar.
And that guys hate her. You've hated her for decades.
Everyone, yes. Look, you guys hate her, and let us now begin on day one to remind you why.
And she's so bad at covering her own ass that makes it even worse for her.
Well, it's a sort of brazenness that eventually catches up with you. And I think the big question in this election is it going to catch up with her before or after November?
That's right. That is the big question.
Yes.
Right. It's like WikiLeaks is doing far more against her than Trump in many ways.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I find it very interesting that Assange came out in support of me when I had my account taken away by Twitter.
Is that right?
Yeah. To the point where Dorsey was responding to him on Twitter. And then, and now Trump. And I mean, he's, but however you want to slice this, he's helping the Trump campaign.
And he was being coy. Someone asked him,
he's got stuff on everyone.
Well, they asked him, they go, why didn't you leak the stuff about Trump? And he goes, there's nothing we have that's as bad as the things that Trump says every day. I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
That's not true. No. Yeah. So, but I mean, the thing is, as awful as Trump is, and I think he's awful in many ways, Hillary Clinton is advocating.
Not on this show. Not on this show.
She's advocating killing Snowden or whoever it was, or Assange. I don't remember which one. Yeah. And she's advocating all these wars. She was blithely we talk about, we can't have Trump with his finger on the nuclear button. Mm-hmm. She was on the air saying we'll wipe Iran off the map if they go after Israel. I mean, if you're going to be this blithe about, she's responsible for a lot of calamities.
She's very blasé about that stuff.
Yes, and that's terrifying. And you can get away with it when you're on the left.
I mean, of course. The only country you'd want her to be blasé about, of course, places like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Kuwait.
Right.
Of course, they're filling her pockets. Places that throw gays off cranes while she's pandering to homosexuals back home. The people who pay into the Clinton Foundation and pay her mortgage are the only countries you do want her to be blasé about, and of course, not a peep.
And the thing I pointed out on Twitter a while ago is the Clinton impeachment started because they were investigating the influence of Chinese money in American politics, because Bill Clinton was bought and paid for by the Chinese.
Of course, they said
and then
that.
it shifted into this whole perjury thing.
The thing that amazes me about the Clinton family, I've said this before, but it just never gets old, really. I mean, it's the tiny scale of it, the pettiness of it. Selling a night in the Lincoln bedroom for $100,000. It's just so demeaning.
What about the White House travel office?
These tiny amounts of money. It's like at least Bush went to war. At least he started a war. But the Clintons, it's just this sort of low rent, money grubbing pettiness that's so distasteful.
Bill Clinton is the only piece of white trash that the left likes. It's true.
No, that's very. I've got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Why do black people like the Clintons so much? Because nobody's been able to give me a really persuasive answer to this. I mean, I know about Bill Clinton, the saxophone.
Oh, that's.
I mean, Ricky Ray Rector. You know, horrifying story. Bill Clinton's crime bill did more to destroy the black family than anything else since
I
slavery.
don't think most Republicans genuinely care about black people.
No, I don't suppose they do either. But why do black people like the Clintons so much?
I think because Bill Clinton very much came out of the same culture that most black people did. Raised by a single mother, came from poverty. He's clearly comfortable around black people. He's culturally black in many ways, from the South.
Yeah, that's true.
In the South, poor whites and blacks are in the same kind of socioeconomic sphere. So they very much see him as one of their own.
And so Hillary's kind of inherited that halo.
Yes, and I mean, I did a book with a black comedian, and he talked about Bill Clinton. He goes, look, this motherfucker got impeached, basically lost his job, and then went back to work on Monday like didn't shit happen. And the editors switched it to like shit didn't happen, which drove me crazy because that's such good syntax. But yeah, he very much has this kind of poor, in the South, poor white and poor black are kind of synonymous attitude, which I think a lot of black people respond to and appreciate. Certainly more than Obama, who's very erudite and kind of effete.
Yeah. A very white black president.
Yes.
You see, I knew that you would give me a beautiful,
thank you.
a brilliant answer to that question.
Compliment question.
I knew you'd give me a good answer. All right, let's move on back to education.
Yes.
Because it's a subject we both care about deeply.
Yes.
You are an alumnus of a lovely little place in Pennsylvania.
Yes, Bucknell.
Bucknell University.
Yes.
The producer of my show, Tom, is from Bucknell.
Yes, he's there now.
President of the College Republicans.
Yes.
Producer for this show, and we've scooped him up at Breitbart. He's a very talented young man. Tell us why you went for them in your autobiography, and you have spoken, I think, you speak quite freely about the sort of anti-intellectual atmosphere at Bucknell.
Yeah, I hate that school with a passion of a million. It's the worst mistake of my life was going there. I haven't made very many big mistakes. That was the worst mistake.
Talk us through it. Let me ask you it like this. If you're a student, unsell it to me. If I've decided that I want to go to Bucknell because I've heard that it has a good X department and it's, my friends are going, all the rest of it, unsell Bucknell to me.
Okay, when I say the following phrase, a lot of people on the right think I'm virtue signaling, and I mean it. Bucknell taught me to hate white people. Coming from Brooklyn, I'd never met WASP before.
Yeah.
I had never met this anti-intellectual kind of, the way I summed it up, I was hanging out with a buddy of mine and his roommate, and I said, let's play Would You Rather. And I said, would you rather be morbidly obese for the rest of your life or in the middle of a human centipede for a month? And incidentally, I asked this of a North Korean refugee, and I had to teach her what a human centipede was. So that was a whole funny story.
That sounds excellent.
And he goes, neither. What kind of game is this? Give me some good choices. And it's like, it's not called Wouldn't It Be Great? It's not
called The World Would Be Wonderful if only.
Yes, yeah. And this is what they're all like. It's like, this is what your wife looks like. This is the job you get. This is what your house looks like. And they have no critical thought. Yeah. And these are the same people who 30 years ago would have been saying, you're eating raw fish? What is wrong with you? And now, I'm a foodie. You got to go to this place. They got the freshest stuff.
Oh, I see. They are basically the worst people in the world.
They're basic through and through. Every girl is called Kirsten or Jennifer. They're all bleached blonde. And they all think that they're better than you, and they bring nothing to the table except some hard work and inherited wealth. And they're smart, but they're not capable of critical thought. Vermin through and through.
I see.
The same people who thought I was a weird freak at Bucknell now think I'm hilarious because I'm on television. I haven't changed. It's that you're getting the social cues, which is how you make your opinions.
I see. So, and that is the different definition of virtue signaling.
I don't know if it's virtue signaling but there's shit. Shit.
So has it got better or worse in the last 25 years?
I talked to Tom, and he said it's gotten worse. But what was interesting is there's like a one true ring that was passed because Vox Day was there 8 years before me exactly.
Yeah. Who is of course a wonderful human being.
Yeah,
he is a great guy. No, he's a great guy.
I'm Jewish, so I can't like him too much.
Oh no, come on.
Then right between Vox Day and me was Evan Coyne Maloney, who was called the right-wing Michael Moore. He did a film called Indoctrinate You.
I see, and now they've got Tom Sakata.
Yeah. So there must have been someone in between me and Tom. I'm class of 98. But yeah.
I love the idea that the president of Bucknell is between right-wing shitlords, is sitting there like just wondering which of their fresh-faced intake is going to rear his head as the new evil monster. There must be one subversive professor who's been there for like 50 years who is creating like right-wing monsters out of I don't know, There's something going on there, isn't there? There's
I don't. These faculties.
Forged.
No, these faculties. Like, I signed up for a class on American individualism, and the first day, the 4 things we were going to learn. One of them was an English course. Was the movie Birth of a Nation, and I dropped the course that day. And I'm like, this is exactly their approach. If there was a professor there who was subversive, I didn't meet them. I almost got a professor fired because he tried to silence me in class, and this is in my biography, Ego and Hubris. Horrible people through and through. Really? Because even the good ones are like Goldman Sachs people, so it's not like they're edgy. Do you know what I mean? They're still going to be corporate, uptight jerks.
Yeah, I did have fun at the frat parties.
Yeah, the parties are good.
Yeah,
the parties are good.
I think there's a little pocket of people who are fun and interesting and who just don't really give a toss about anything, who do know how to have a good time, but aren't necessarily the brightest.
That's exactly correct. There's a lot of fun people I went to school with and who I enjoy, but they're not going to be intellectuals.
Right. But I get on better with those people, frankly.
To a point, but after 4 years, you're at college, you want to learn something, you want to have that intellectual combat, and it was just me acting out for 4 years.
I get the impression sometimes with these small liberal arts colleges that there is, maybe the faculty is just not that smart, because I get the impression that when I'm talking on stage that I'm telling the professors things they don't know, and I'm expecting to see on their faces.
If they were smart, they wouldn't be professors.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, I'm not even joking. The head of the economics department when I was there was a feminist Marxist, and one of her themes was, since the laws of economics were discovered by men, they're inherently sexist and have to be rediscovered by women. Fine. She wrote the textbook. The textbook was excellent, but how do you even start talking to this person?
Yeah. It's difficult,
and she was like
it's difficult
60,
to know even
how
how to have a conversation with them.
It's like, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Have your idea. This is not something you argue with.
You hear that, it's like, okay, I get what you are.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to go back to the land of the living and get on with my life.
There's no bridge.
Yeah, it's interesting. And despite the fact there's no bridge, these people are exerting enormous power in public life.
Especially on the youth.
Right, because they're churning out people who...
Yes, training.
They are. These are
the shock troops.
Indoctrination camps. Whether it's people who work in the entertainment industry who just react in reflexive horror to conservative or even libertarian positions and points of view. Now there's a full frontal assault on free speech, which is being presented as a weapon of the privileged white elites.
But this isn't new. Woodrow Wilson put Eugene V. Debs in jail for opposing World War I. So this has been their technique for a long time, and now thanks to social media, they're not in a position to silence people. Obviously you got banned for Twitter and there's things like that, but your voice is still not being silenced.
The Streisand effect. I've been on every national. I'm on every national network every week now. It's the best thing that ever happened.
Exactly. So it used to be you had 3. I always make this point. I was on Gavin McInnes' show, and he's just like, it's gotten worse than ever. I go, look, you used to have 3 networks.
Yeah, see, he's a pessimist, and you and I are not.
I'm not.
No, because I think you probably understood like I did, that the first wave of adopters in the social media thing were always going to be the lefties because they're the tech savvy ones, but ultimately, you can't really fight freedom. This is what we're talking about with the North Korea stuff. That human spirit, the indomitable human spirit, is going to assert itself when sufficient people, starts colonizing a network. And now that means that the left can't win in comment sections. The left can't win online.
Or any authoritarian, even the right authoritarian.
No, and I wouldn't have liked the religious right in the 90s any more than I like these guys now.
Of course.
But they can't win anymore when you introduce the public.
And there's this great book that everyone who listens to your show should read called The Idea of Decline in Western Civilization and Western History by Arthur Herman. And he just goes through every decade. It's like the sky's falling, the sky's falling, the sky's falling.
Yeah.
Infant mortality's down, life expectancy's up, everyone's wealthier, happier all the time.
Yeah, life's not
great.
that fucking
Things are
bad.
great. Just because these people are yelling doesn't mean that they have power.
No, and it doesn't mean that the world is awful.
Yes.
It's like, this campus rape culture that we're expected to believe in. Rape rates have been plummeting for 30 years.
Right.
The way that averages work is you add up all of the instances and divide by the number of instances, right? Like the value by the frequency. So we're told that women are sexually molested, depending on which crazy lefty you believe, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 in 2, 1 in 3, 1 in 5, whatever it is, right?
Is that up to 1 in 2?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I have heard 1 in 3 quite frequently. So we take 1 in 5, right? You would expect that there would be one college that would have a number like that, or there'd be colleges with numbers either side, or the rest of it, I have tried, using the best statistics available and even being over generous. My research team looks for this stuff. To find one college with statistics that remotely approach this, and you can't find one, and it's like, I think I went to Santa Barbara, and I think here at Santa Barbara, it's like 1 in 200 and whatever women say that they were like touched on the breast or something, whatever. So you guys got to get your numbers up because you're letting the side down, you're letting the progressives down on all this stuff. This is what we're talking about earlier, this kind of conspiracy theorizing and insanity and craziness.
But also just shows how much better it is because now that we have technology, you have DNA testing, and now you don't have to have he said, she said. You have his fluid on the woman, and you have indisputable proof. And now people like me can feel comfortable sending this guy away for a very long time. happen.
Right, exactly,
This is not
exactly.
gonna be-
Not
or
only
there's
is this,
video.
not only
Now
is this
there's
better for the
video,
real
yes.
victims, but it's better for those of us who, who actually believe in freedom and truth and
retribution for people who are doing things like this.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, it is. We've had a very interesting conversation. I've enjoyed this.
So,
I've
thank
enjoyed
you.
this.
Same
We
here.
must have you on again.
I would love that.
We must have you on again. Once more. Pick it up from the floor. Where I didn't put it on the floor, actually. I put it on top of things. It must never go on the floor. It's like Louis
like the Bible.
No, it's like Louis Vuitton. No, I have one concession to my housekeeper at home, which is that I don't put her Quran on the floor. But I come home and she's doing all the,
Yeah.
I hope I'm not paying for that. Do you think she factors that into her time?
No, that's a Jewish thing. That's what we do.
Right. No. I mean, it's okay. So I'm the one that's supposed to be asking her.
Yes.
Didn't you you got 2 prayers in while you were here? Am I paying for that? I have no idea. All right. The book is Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il, as dictated to Michael Malice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
This has been
Milo.
fascinating.
Love it.
Bye.